Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for joining us for part 2 on mediation in marriage. This will be a continuation of part 1. So please join us for the part 1 session before viewing this presentation. In this presentation, we'll be looking at the following topics. We will continue with the mediation process and how it is done with some general guidelines. We'll discuss points of abuse. Then we'll discuss fasq, the application process, procedures and guidelines. So let's begin. In the mediation process, here are some general points. Both parties must be willing to save the nikah when they come to the counselor. It is unfair in any process if they come to the first meeting wanting to break the nikah. They should not be coming for helping to break anything unless the matter is deemed so serious that to then consider dissolving the nikah is actually meritorious. Secondly, after having heard both parties, advise them as to where you think they are going wrong by being, number 1, A, pointing out any Shari'i infringements and offering the correct interpretations. B, highlighting any extreme behavioral patterns committed by either parties and offering a sound advice as to how to assist with eradicating the problem. C, in extreme cases, advise them to seek professional help as well. As a rule, always advise the couple on things to try out that will help better the situation with a time frame. Make sure to give each the chance to prove themselves. This can be done with the discretion of the counselor. Never give them the option to just get out of the nikah. Now let's discuss the topic of abuse in marriage. In an abusive situation, enforce a separation period. Give the offending party a time frame to pull themselves straight. Mullah Yunus Patel Rahmatullah said that when it's serious cases like abuse, then don't tell the parties to have patience because it could blow up with disastrous consequences. Look at preventative measures. Give the wife or husband some sense of security. Abuse cannot be allowed. The husband or wife needs to understand that there are ramifications. Yes, abuse can come from both parties. And in a situation where there is allegations of sexual abuse, it is necessary to determine whether these allegations are true or not. The following is important to mention as well. Don't rush through any mediation process. It has been observed that by giving 30-day cycles between sessions, it helps for emotions to subside and a better solution to be achieved. Apply the concept of the hadith, hastening to conclude such matters is from shaitan. Next is the fasq process. This is a sample process we will look at. The lady must state all issues in writing. Next, the husband must be interviewed and quizzed about all allegations. If he denies any allegation, then call both together to ascertain the truth. Fourthly, a minimum period to conclude a fasq can take up to 3 months. In a case where it's deemed serious or the marriage had broken down irreparably and the husband keeps the wife in the nikah out of spite, it can take up to a year or more when there's complications to the technicalities of the process. Keep in mind the implications of the Sharia. Fasq applications must be heard by minimum 2 ulama with a senior alim, preferably a mufti, to review the field workers' case notes. After the ulama have gone through the process of firstly trying reconciliation between the couple or adopting different angles to try to save the marriage, and they have then determined that this nikah will not work, They will then proceed to consult the senior alim or mufti to review the merits of the case. The senior alim, after having reviewed the merits, can at any point affirm or reaffirm by restarting the process to interview the couple, to do a thorough check as to whether there is no infringement on the rights of the husband or the wife, as the Sharia has prescribed. The fasq will only be concluded after all three ulama are in agreement and a document is signed by all three, denoting the conclusion to the case. Note, special note. Kindly note that the process above or below is not a cut and dry procedure. It's merely a guide so as to cover all angles, giving consideration to the laws of Sharia being preserved at all costs. So let's look at the procedure. Number 1, application done via telephone or email or visit to the office. Next, fill in application form. Then, verification of information given by the applicant. ID numbers, names, contact details of both parties, validity of the nikah itself, contact imam who solemnized the nikah and witnesses. Fourthly, defendant should be contacted within 5 working days to set up an appointment at the office. Then, interview with the defendant must be preferably done face-to-face and not over the phone. In the event of the husband living out of town, he should first be asked to attend a meeting in the town that his wife resides, failing which, for whatever reason, he can be interviewed telephonically in the presence of 2 ulama. He may also submit a written submission of his version and a reduction to any allegations made against himself. Then, inform the defendant of applicant's allegations. Make a note of responses. A meeting should be around about an hour. Fifthly, set up a meeting with both parties. Cross-question to determine the closest truth to give an informed decision. B. Find out as to what are their desired outcomes. They may opt for any of the below, either annulment or reconciliation. If annulment, if both are in agreement on this, then get the husband to sign a tafweedul talaq document immediately. This document will help in controlling the process and preserving the rights of the wife and the Sharia if the husband intends to become nasty at any point. If reconciliation is opted for, then even if one party wants to make it work, then initiate the reconciliation process. Always keep in mind that Allah Ta'ala is the changer of hearts. Our duty is to try for the best outcome despite the frustration of only one party wanting to comply. Now, then, give the husband or wife a month grace at a time, wherein he or her behavior is monitored for signs of attempting to resolve his or her issues of non-compliance. Also remember to get the husband to sign the tafweedul talaq document from the beginning if he is the perpetrator. Sixthly, if after a month there is progress and no breaches of the rights of nikah, then that's good. Both husband and wife should be given a process to follow as to not repeat the offenses that led them to the problems. In a case where an offense is repeated after this time, then the office must be notified to restart the process and apply the same separation process as before. Remember that the idea behind it is to build up a case against the perpetrator in the event that the nikah does not work out. B. There is no progress. Second phase will be initiated. Husband will be given a second chance 1 more month will be given to monitor compliance. Number 7, if after 2 months, number 1, a husband acknowledges he cannot comply, then he will be encouraged to give 1 talaq, ba'in, following which the annulment will now become an option. B, if the counselor determines that the husband is making a genuine effort to change, albeit not adequate, then the wife needs to recognize this and be encouraged to give him more time. Number 8, if after 3 months the husband is not showing signs of compliance, then share the case file with the marital board, senior ulama or mufti. If they give guidance for further steps, we give another month. If they give the go-ahead for the fasq, finalize the fasq at an office meeting and get fasq form filled in. Number 9, if the husband is not responding to calls to attend the mediation, send 2 official letters requesting his attendance in a space of a 30-day cycle. The 3rd notice is to inform him of a fasq date and to attend annulment hearing, the fasq hearing. Note, always ensure that the notice letters are being received by the husband. Do not at any point take this for granted. Lastly, here are a few guidelines. All cases to be dealt with within office hours, to minimize workload on caseworkers, and to give time to this twice a week only, so as to keep a fresh perspective. Secondly, extraordinary meetings can be called after hours if there is a valid reason. All cases to have a unique case number which will be reflected on all related documents. Processes to be clearly explained to parties to avoid unrealistic expectations. Every counsellor must comply to doing their own field work and not to rely on the findings of any other organization. Hence, a case where a wife is hopping from one organization to the other, this must be clearly explained to her. Unless a case is officially transferred by a bona fide organization, by ulama whom had followed all protocol as listed above, then the case can continue without a restart to the processes. Files to be kept confidential. The case overview must be filled in to reflect progress and will serve as a reference point in case of inquiries. And this concludes part 2 of our presentation on mediation in marriage. Jazakallah khair for joining us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.